Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, Greg Majeski, your personal weatherman, bringing you the weather without all that social media hype here on your Monday, November 18th, 2024. Let's go and take a look at what we're tracking here for today as we're looking at severe weather across portions of Texas and Oklahoma, especially here for today. We'll take a look at that day one outlook from the Storms Prediction Center. We're also talking about Sarah rain enhancement. Yeah, Sarah is officially dissipated, but some of that moisture may make its way in along the Gulf Coast. We'll show you some of those concerns there. And we're going to be looking ahead for Thanksgiving Day travel. I know we still got a little more week away. We'll kind of give you an idea what we're kind of tracking as we head toward next week for your travel plans. Now, before we get going, first, I do want to personally thank the new subscribers here to the channel. And if you haven't yet subscribed, you can help me out. I am dedicating this channel to the care of my father, who's a retired Vietnam veteran. And so any money made from my YouTube channel is going to go to help support him and his assisted living. So if you can help me out, please subscribe to the channel. That way I can help try to grow the audience, and that way perhaps generate a little bit of money to help support my dad. All right, let's go ahead and take a look here at our current satellite picture here across the country. This is our big storm system here in the middle of the country. Some pretty good hefty thunderstorms in Oklahoma. We'll show you those here in just a second. Got some snows out here in the Intermountain region, quiet in the southwest, southeast, not looking too bad, and just some clouds there across the areas of New England here for this morning. All right, drought conditions are pretty bad across a lot of the country. The good news is we're getting some rains here to help fight back the drought conditions across the south central United States. And the southeast looks like they're going to make a little bit of a dent. But we can definitely work on this map here a little bit, hopefully in the coming weeks ahead. Now, we do have some flash flood watches down here across Oklahoma and parts of Texas and down here across Louisiana and Mississippi. See the severe weather we have here in the middle of the country, and we'll show you that in a second here. We do have winter storm warnings out here on the west coast for the Cascades all the way down toward the Sierra Nevada, and some winter weather advisories here across Idaho and into Montana. All right, let's look at the storm system here. This is our big storm system here. It's going to be lifting up here to the south. This is eventually going to spread the rains into the southeast as well. Intermountain snows here across areas of Idaho down toward Utah. And there's a little bit of rain out here on the west coast as well. A little bit of light rain there exiting there up toward Maine for your Monday morning. All right, here's our severe weather here. We got a pretty decent squall line here coming right through Oklahoma City, coming into Norman right now, all the way down to Wichita Falls and getting into North Texas. So it looks like this was kind of tracking a little bit further south, but definitely shifted a little bit further north than what the models were kind of indicating over the weekend. So this will continue to push off toward the east. So areas out ahead of this is going to be where the severe weather concern will be here for most of the day for today. In fact, let's go ahead and switch on over to the Storms Prediction Center, and we'll go ahead and take a look at the breakdown for that severe weather here for today. As you can see, that yellow area there, that is our target zone as that squall line continues to move off toward the east. Notice we got a pretty decent sized marginal severe line here going in across areas of Kansas, Missouri, coming back toward the southeast, going in toward Louisiana and Alabama. So we got other areas there as well. Let's go ahead and break this down by the category. There is a tornado threat, obviously, with this moving on through here. We got about a 5% chance. That's in that brown area there, basically from Oklahoma City down to just areas there to the northwest of Dallas. That is that squall line. That's most intense. As it moves off toward the east, it should weaken a little bit, but that's the target zone right in there. In that brown, that's about 5% foreseeing perhaps an isolated tornado too for today. How about the hail threat with this? Let's go ahead and take a look at that. We'll look at the hail threat here. Just a little pocket there across areas of Kansas and Oklahoma. And obviously the wind threat will be the most impactful, especially along that squall line as it continues to press off toward the east there across Oklahoma and into North Texas. How about the day two outlook? Let's go look at day two. This will shift into the southeast. We're looking at a marginal risk here across Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and the Florida Panhandle as we go into your Tuesday. And then as far as your day three outlook is concerned, let's go to day three. That little pocket kind of shifts off toward the east there across the Carolinas with a marginal risk for severe weather as you go into day three, going in toward your Wednesday. All right, so with all that going on, obviously we got some heavy rains in there. We could definitely use it. This is your outlook here for your potential for some heavy rains and some isolated flooding zone. We got a little target zone that we're going to watch here as we go here for the next several days here. So let's back this up here again. That's the current one. Here's the current one right here. Here we go. And right along the Gulf Coast, obviously we're going to watch that very closely there as we look at your day two. And again, some of that might be enhanced just a little bit here with some of that tropical moisture left over from Sarah there along the Gulf Coast as we go here into the next coming day or two. So it's going into your day two. That's going in for tomorrow, all right? And then as far as your day three outlook is concerned, let's go out there. It really kind of becomes a West Coast thing. We'll see things beginning to settle down. We'll have to watch areas out here on the California coast here going in toward your Wednesday. So we'll have to watch the Gulf Coast there, potential some heavy rain enhancement from the Sarah remnants kind of making its way up to the out of the Gulf from there. All right, let's again break down your severe weather here. This is again for today. We're talking Dallas, Fort Worth, Oklahoma City, Arlington, and Plano, Texas, all under that slight risk for severe weather. And the marginal severe weather includes obviously Houston, Kansas City, New Orleans, and Tulsa. Those are the big metropolitan areas there under the gun for potential severe weather as that storm system begins to push off slowly off toward the east. Now, as I mentioned earlier, as of this morning, again, we're looking at the remnants of Sarah now officially gone. Don't have to worry about that as it continues to move off toward the northwest there. And the good news on that is, again, we don't have to worry about any more tropical system. I'm hoping that we're done for the season. I really am. It's been a very active season to get all the way down to the S storm. Very active indeed. Now, some of that moisture, again, could work its way up into the north here as we head into this upcoming week, coming into tomorrow, especially along the Gulf Coast. So let's go ahead and look at the model data here. I want to look at the short-term model data. We're looking at the high-resolution data here as we go to watch the storm system begin to slowly pull on off toward the east here as that big low-pressure system kind of gets pulled out there across Texas here. And obviously, we got a cold front that's dragging through there. Got some rain out here on the west coast as well as we're looking at here toward the midday hour here. So let's go ahead and take this forward again. As we watch this thing progress off toward the east, it'll raise up to the north. So we're going to see the rains increasing across areas of Nebraska, Iowa, getting up into obviously the areas of Minnesota. And then you obviously got this frontal system coming through Missouri, coming through Arkansas, and into Louisiana. Again, that's where that marginal risk for severe weather is going to be as that frontal system begins to move off toward the east as we head toward the 6 o'clock hour here on your Monday. Let's go ahead and take this forward again. So we can take it overnight into Tuesday. This will start to press into the southeast. Notice some of this moisture down here coming in here along the Gulf Coast. We're seeing a little bit of surge of moisture coming in here. Some of the remnants of what was Sarah, getting some of that moisture kind of maybe augmenting the rain just a little bit there along the Gulf Coast. As that moves off toward the east, some very good healthy rain shield here across the areas of the Great Lakes, stretching back to the Great Plains here with that low pressure system, which will be setting up right about over Minneapolis about that time. Still got the wet weather, still the onshore flow there along the west coast. And then we're getting some healthy rains here along the southeast, obviously to help fight back some of the drought conditions in that neck of the woods. And as we go and progress throughout the day on your Tuesday, that'll progress off toward your east. And we'll start getting some of the rains there across the mid-Atlantic. And we'll start to move into that cold front along the southeast. Got a pretty vigorous storm system coming out here on the west coast. Obviously, that's where that heavy rain threat was coming in as we were going in toward your Wednesday, as we got another pretty good strong storm system coming out there as well. So let's go ahead and talk about the jet stream here. Again, that's that river of air that kind of drives traffic all across the country here, as we'll be watching that storm system ejecting out of the southwest. Again, that's that little impulse right through here that's causing our little active weather here for today as that starts to kick on out. We'll watch another trough kind of dig in behind this as we go through time. But what's going to happen here is this low is going to shift off toward the east. As it becomes elongated here, we're going to drive some of the cold air into the southeast. Obviously, that's been running a bit above average. There's our upper level low. And it's going to kind of hang back and hang out across the Midwest and into the Northeast. So that'll be those areas potentially seeing some snow here going Thursday and into Friday in that area there. You notice we got a little bit of a ridging here across the west, so they'll kind of modify a little bit. But this will be the colder zone with the temperatures here across the eastern third of the United States. It'll be brief, but at least it'll cool down just a little bit. Then that low begins to pull on out. And as we head toward this weekend, a fairly zonal flow. I mean, this is a west-east. You're pretty much flat. So no big storm systems expected for this weekend. Then we're going to be heading into obviously, we're looking Thanksgiving week. We'll see how this thing works out. We got another dip in the jet stream coming down here as we head toward Wednesday. Looks like we'll get another storm system here coming into Wednesday and Thursday, coming in across the south central portion of the United States. Right now doesn't look all that bad. Don't see a really big spin up here, but obviously any kind of rains or storms, you start getting into the airports and stuff that can cause some delays here. But looks like we're going to start bringing in some cold air across the west again here, and milder temperatures across the southeast as we head toward Thanksgiving Day. And then this will slowly begin to push off toward the east. A pretty good storm system here coming in across the eastern half of the United States going into the weekend after Thanksgiving. And obviously, you got folks coming in and out of town, so we'll have to watch that because this storm system here obviously could impact the big airports here across the eastern third of the United States from New York City down toward Atlanta, Hartsfield-Jackson Airport as we head toward that following weekend. And then it'll start to get out. And then beyond that, I have to watch closely. I'm getting some indications we may get an Arctic outbreak going into December. I'm gonna wait and see, hold off on that to see if that's gonna kind of come true or not. But we'll see how that works out. So here's our storm system. Again, we already talked about this one moving on out into the southeast. So we got that pulling on through. That pulls on out, and then we get that upper level low here. Here it comes, it starts to form here across areas of the Ohio River Valley and into the northeast. I'll be interested to see how that kind of spins up. It's a kind of a weird kind of setup here with that low kind of firing up there, but it'll dump some snow across Ohio, Pennsylvania, maybe getting into New York there. It depends on how cold that core is of that low there as it spins on out. And then as we go this weekend, other than the West Coast, we've gotten some, obviously some more rain out here. Most of the country's not looking too bad for this upcoming weekend going into Saturday and Sunday. So it looks pretty quiet here as we go into Monday. Monday, not looking too bad there as we wait for this next storm system. Just some general light rain here across areas of heading up toward Pennsylvania, back toward Missouri. But really, that's not too bad for your traveling day there on Tuesday if you're getting an early start. Then this thing starts to settle up to where it looks like the rain's going to kind of settle in across the southeast for a few days. Going into Wednesday, and then going into Thanksgiving Day, throughout the Thanksgiving Day, it looks like the Mid-South, Mississippi areas there across Tennessee, Kentucky, looking a little bit wet. And this looks like it's going to hang in here for a little bit. Thursday, Friday, Black Friday looking very wet here across the southeast, looking wet here, obviously across New England as well. Got some cold air coming down here across the areas of the high plains and into the middle of the country as we head throughout the day on your Friday. That is on November the 30th. And then this will finally starts to kick on out. Looks like a piece of energy here kind of catches up into this. Is what we sometimes call a kicker. It's going to kind of kick this system on out here as we kind of take this forward here. As this kicks on out, boom, kicks on out, flattens out. And then noticing these blue lines. You're seeing all these blue lines in here. That's some pretty cold air going into the 1st of December. Again, we'll see if that works out. It's still about 10 days out, but that could be some of the coldest Arctic air, especially for areas here across the high plains. We could be looking at temperatures getting down close to 0 or below 0 if this is to hold true heading on out as we head into the first week of December. So we've got a little time to watch that, though, to see if that comes true or not. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the precipitation here. We'll take a look at this. Again, we got our first surge of precipitation here across the middle of the country. That's that with the storm system we're seeing for today. That's what's going to be responsible here. We got the rains here across the southeast. Again, you got a little bit of a moisture influx there from the remnants of Sarah, perhaps enhancing that a little bit there along the Gulf Coast. And that moves off toward the east. So some healthy rains here across Alabama, Georgia, much appreciated here. Very stormy and very rainy on that west coast. And boy, they've been getting blasted here for several systems, and it looks like that trend's going to continue. Then we'll watch this to see if this turns into snow. How much of that snow is going to be a problem there across Ohio, Pennsylvania, or if that's going to stay rain. It's going to be a borderline on this one for that on the coldness. And then we'll see again. Look at the west coast. That next storm system comes in. Boom. We're talking. Boy, you're talking about some heavy rains here. You're talking upwards over a foot of rain there across northern California as we head into this upcoming Saturday. So some very heavy rains out on the west coast. And as we take this out through the week, again, we got that next storm system progressing here as we go into the following weekend. And that'll bring us some much heavy rains across the southeast. Again, we got several days of rain starting basically right around Thanksgiving, goes right into the weekend there. And that'll definitely be some drought-busting rains across Alabama and Georgia if this holds true. But boy, those west coast rainfall amounts are very high indeed. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at that. We'll go to the west coast here real quick. We'll talk about this again. As I said, we're looking upwards. See that purple in there, over 10 to 12 inches of rain potential going in there. Of course, that means the Sierra Nevada probably looking at probably feet of snow getting into the Cascades there with some very heavy rains. Obviously, that turns into snow as you look at that. So let's go ahead and talk about the snow. Let's go ahead and look at that. We'll look at that precipitation mode here as we go through the next couple of days. Mostly out in the west, out in the mountains, not looking too bad there. And then as we go forward here, as we go into time, we start watching the areas there across the east. There we go, watching those snows across the areas here, across the portions of the Ohio River Valley, Pennsylvania, and into West Virginia. So we'll see how that works out. Could be some pretty decent snows in that area as we go through the next several days. So that's where we're going to take it out to, just taking it out to this upcoming weekend here. Let's look at that. Let me clear this out. We'll go ahead and look at the eastern portion of the United States here. Let's go ahead and let's talk about that region. We'll talk about the areas there in the Midwest. So we're talking about areas there across Ohio, Pennsylvania, and areas there in West Virginia. So let's look at the eastern model here. Again, looking at pretty good clusters there. You're talking about maybe upwards of 9 inches of snow showing up there and maybe even higher up here in the Appalachians of West Virginia, getting over perhaps over a foot of snow in that zone, potentially as that system pulls on through in there, coming into this upcoming Thursday and upcoming Friday. Now, as far as the temperatures are concerned, okay, so let's go ahead and look at the temperatures here. As I back this up here, you're looking at the temperature anomaly map here. So anything it's in the reds, we're talking about unseasonably warm temperatures on that. So red is warm, blue and green is obviously we're talking about below normal. So as I go forward here, again, you're looking at temperatures for the most part here for Tuesday, areas in the east, looking at going into Wednesday morning, unseasonably mild. So mild for this time of year. The west continuing with that below normal trend, which has been there for most of the fall. That'll continue. We start to get that cool down going into Thursday. Yeah, look at we finally cooling things down here across areas of Ohio River Valley, the southeast, going into Thursday. Get a slight modification out here in the west. You notice it's getting a little bit of red, a little bit of that above normal temperature there. And then this will kind of hold on into Friday as well across the southeast, especially with below normal temperatures there. And then as we go ahead through the weekend, we have that zonal flow. It starts to warm up in the east. Still looking at below normal temperatures out here in the west. So we get a little bit warmer out here across the southeast as we start to modify that air just a bit. And then as we go into the week, okay, we're talking about Tuesday. Southeast looks pretty mild, looking pretty mild indeed. The west still looking below normal. Check out some of this cold air out here across Canada. It is going to start to push into portions of the United States. We've got to watch this closely here as we get maybe some really Arctic air to kind of come in here. Still looking at that Saturday. Look how warm it is here, or milder here in the east, much colder out here in the west, and eventually some of that cold air may make its way down into the southeastern portion of the United States. So it looks like we're going to see that continuing. And look, as we go into December, most of the country is looking at below normal temperatures here across a lot of the country. Got a little ways to watch that, but we'll see if that holds true or not. All right, so let's look at your climate outlook here, a 6 to 10 day forecast. Look, a lot of the country looking above normal temperatures here as we look at November 23rd through the 27th. And from the 25th through the 1st, again, a lot of the country looking at above normal temperatures, except for this area up in here. This is that indications that maybe some of that Arctic air might start to intrude as we go into the early portion of December. Precipitation-wise, looking near normal in the middle, dry along the East Coast and across portions of Texas. Definitely very wet out here in California. We showed you that. And then from November 25th through December 1st, near normal here across the areas of the southeast. So looks like we got some active weather here for the next few days, especially on the west coast. We're going to get pounded with some very heavy rains there. Watch the opportunities for snow there across portions of the areas of the Ohio River Valley into the northeast as we head into this upcoming Thursday and Friday. And of course, Thanksgiving week, it's still over a week away. We're going to have some travel changes for sure that are going to take place. So make sure you check back here for those weather dailies to get updates, especially if you have any travel plans for next week. Again, I do want to thank all the new subscribers to the channel. I made the decision that any monetization money that I make from this channel, I'm going to use to help support my dad in assisted living. So if you can help me out, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you'll learn on future content. And as always, leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up down below. I do appreciate you guys' support. All right, that's your update for now. You guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.